2001. Hollywood lost over $750 million on films nobody wanted to see. I've got Warren Beatty here, Sylvester Stallone, Mariah Carey having a public breakdown while her soundtrack dropped on September 11th. There's a film so catastrophic, it literally killed its own studio, and one director who ended up in federal prison because of production drama. Which disaster lost the most? Let's find out. Director Peter Hyams thought he had a genius idea with the Musketeer. Take Alexandre Dumas, add Hong Kong wire-fu choreography, and create the next action franchise. Universal had so little confidence in this thing, they bought domestic rights for just $3.7 million. That's not a typo. The budget was $40 million. Break-even was around $100 million with marketing. It opened September 7th, 2001. 4 days later, the world changed. The second weekend coincided with 9/11, and the entire national box office collapsed. Final gross, $32.5 million worldwide. You'd think the timing killed it, but honestly, nobody wanted this anyway. Justin Chambers lacked the charisma to carry a blockbuster, and post-Matrix wire work felt derivative in a Musketeer's context. Chambers never became a film star. He found success on Grey's Anatomy instead. The movie's completely forgotten. Henry Selick directed The Nightmare Before Christmas. Fox gave him $75 million to make Monkeybone, a live-action animation hybrid starring Brendan Fraser. Then they fired him from his own film. Here's what happened. Fox chairman Bill Mechanic greenlit the project. Then Mechanic got ousted after a string of flops. New executives Tom Rothman and Jim Giannopoulos inherited a movie they had zero investment in. News Corp COO Peter Chernin publicly called it a residual hangover from animation during an investor call. They buried it with minimal marketing and dumped it in February. Opening weekend, $2.7 million in 1,722 theaters. That's one of the worst wide release openings in history. Total gross, $7.6 million worldwide. Fox wrote off the entire $75 million budget. The same year, Fraser's Mummy Returns made $433 million. Same star. One movie earned 57 times more than the other. Selick didn't direct another film for 8 years. Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner as Elvis impersonators pulling a casino heist. 3,000 Miles to Graceland cost $47 million to make. At least, that's what the actual budget was. Producer Elie Samaha reported it as $62 million to German investors. That's because Franchise Pictures was running a massive fraud operation. They inflated budgets on multiple films, pocketed the difference, and German co-financier Entertainment eventually caught on. Entertainment won a $77 million fraud judgment in 2004. Franchise Pictures was destroyed completely. The movie itself, $18.7 million worldwide. Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 stars and called it a movie without an ounce of human kindness. It remains the worst reviewed film in Kurt Russell's entire career on Rotten Tomatoes at 15%. 5 Golden Raspberry nominations. 5 Stinkers Bad Movie Award nominations. Won nothing at either ceremony. Even the Razzies rejected it. This one's actually kind of sad. Heartbreakers was Anne Bancroft's final on-screen film role before she passed away in 2005. It's a con artist comedy with Sigourney Weaver, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ray Liotta, and Gene Hackman. MGM spent $38 million on it. The film opened number 1 with $11.8 million. Not a disaster opening, but on a $38 million budget plus substantial marketing, MGM took a write-down. Total gross was $57.8 million worldwide. You'd think that's profitable, but after the exhibitor cut and P&A costs, MGM lost somewhere between 10 and 15 million. Roger Ebert actually liked it. 3 stars. He said, "It does what a comedy must. It makes us laugh." Critics were split on the 123-minute runtime. It's a borderline case. Not a catastrophic bomb, but a clear financial disappointment given the star power involved. MGM secured a $10 million TV licensing deal that helped offset some losses. Anne Bancroft deserved a better send-off. Frank Darabont made Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. Warner Brothers gave him $72 million to make The Majestic, including $20 million for Jim Carrey. This should have been a prestige hit. It opened Christmas Day 2001 to $4.9 million. 8th place. The problem? It opened directly against The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Warner Bros. Had staged 500 sneak previews the week before. None generated positive buzz. Metacritic gave it 27 out of 100, among the worst scores of Darabont's career. Total gross, $37.3 million worldwide on a $72 million budget. The failure was a major factor in Castle Rock Entertainment's dissolution. Warner Brothers shuttered the company's physical production departments in 2002. Carey has since called it his least favorite role. Darabont says he remains very proud of the film. Pride doesn't pay back $50 million in losses. Kevin Spacey and Jeff Bridges in a sci-fi drama about a psychiatric patient who might be an alien. K-PAX had serious budget confusion. Some sources say $48 million, others say $68 million. Either way, it lost money. Here's a fun detail. Future SNL star Bill Hader worked as a production assistant on this film for exactly 1 day. He was immediately fired after accidentally letting 2 costumed actors from Planet of the Apes wander through a K-PAX shot. They were filming on an adjacent lot. The movie also faced plagiarism allegations. Argentine director Eliseo Subiela claimed it copied his 1986 film Man Facing Southeast. Both feature a mysterious psychiatric patient claiming to be an alien. The complaint was withdrawn only because Subiela couldn't afford to litigate. Total gross, $65 million worldwide. On the lower budget estimate, that's a $25 million loss. On the higher estimate, it's closer to $50 million. Neither is good. Sylvester Stallone wrote 25 drafts of Driven. Originally, it was about Formula One. When F1 teams blocked access, he pivoted to kart racing. Warner Bros. Gave him a $72 million budget and a $20 million salary. At least that's what Franchise Pictures reported. Remember Franchise Pictures? The fraud operation? They inflated this budget too. Director Renny Harlin's first cut was 4 hours long. 51 minutes of deleted footage on the DVD reportedly reveal a much better film. Warner Bros. Marketed it by barely showing Stallone in the trailer. That's how little confidence they had. Opening weekend, $12.8 million. Total gross, $54.7 million worldwide. Stallone later listed Driven alongside Stop or My Mom Will Shoot as films that went right down the toilet. Harlan said on Reddit, "The lesson I learned is don't ever make a movie for the wrong reasons." Stallone's career hit rock bottom. His next films went straight to video. He didn't recover until Rocky Balboa in 2006. 5 years in the wilderness. The Farrelly brothers and Bill Murray made a live-action animation hybrid about white blood cells fighting infection. Warner Bros. Spent $75 million on Osmosis Jones. It made $14 million worldwide. Only $429,000 came from international markets. They basically didn't release it overseas. Warner Bros. Marketing executive Brad Ball sent an internal memo calling it a complete rejection by the movie-going public. All planned tie-ins were scrapped. The toy line required $65 million in box office to proceed. A 13-episode TV series was canceled. Corporate promotional partnerships evaporated. Here's the thing though, this film killed Warner Bros. Feature animation. The next project, Looney Tunes Back in Action, also flopped. The department was shuttered permanently. But Osmosis Jones had the last laugh. It became a beloved classroom educational tool shown in health and biology classes across America. The animated TV series Ozzy and Drix ran for 26 episodes. Millennials now have genuine nostalgia for it. Sometimes failure just takes time to become success. John Carpenter made Halloween The Thing and Escape from New York. Ghosts of Mars was originally called Escape from Mars. It was supposed to be the third Snake Plissken film. After Escape from LA flopped, Carpenter reworked it into something else. Courtney Love was originally cast as the lead. She dropped out a week before production when her boyfriend's ex-wife ran over her foot with a car. Natasha Henstridge replaced her. Jason Statham was supposed to be the lead too, but the studio wanted a bigger name. Ice Cube got the role. Statham was demoted to supporting player. In retrospect, Statham became a far bigger action star within a few years. Budget, $28 million. Gross, $14 million worldwide. Ice Cube refused to promote the film. He said he couldn't honestly get in front of a camera and tell people they should see a movie I wouldn't want to watch myself. Carpenter admitted he was burned out, absolutely wiped out. He didn't direct another film for 9 years. This effectively ended his theatrical career. This is the big one. Town and Country started as a $14 million spec script. When Warren Beatty, Diane Keaton, and Goldie Hawn signed on, the budget jumped to $44 million. Then it exploded to $105 million through sheer chaos. Production began June 1998 without a finished script. Beatty's legendary perfectionism meant dozens of takes per scene. Gérard Depardieu was cast, then injured himself in a motorcycle accident. Gary Shandling replaced him, then left for another film. Keaton left for Hanging Up. It took a full year to reassemble the cast. Thieves broke onto set and stole 2 days' worth of film reels. Buck Henry was hired for a few weeks of script polish and ended up rewriting half the film. The movie endured 12 release date postponements. Total gross, $10.4 million worldwide. That's 11.5% of the production budget. New Line chairman Bob Shea publicly blamed Beatty. Beatty's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter. Former New Line president Michael DeLuca diagnosed the problem. I trace everything back to shooting without a locked script. Warren Beatty didn't appear on screen again for 15 years. The Hollywood Reporter ranks it as the 5th largest box office bomb of the entire 2000s decade. Ivan Reitman directed Ghostbusters. He spent $80 million trying to make Ghostbusters with aliens. Evolution stars David Duchovny, Julianne Moore, and Seann William Scott fighting rapidly evolving extraterrestrial creatures. The project started as a serious sci-fi thriller. Reitman saw potential to transform it into comedy. Bill Murray was originally considered for the role that went to Dan Aykroyd. If Murray had signed, this would have essentially been Ghostbusters 3. David Duchovny turned down a role in Star Wars Episode 2 to make this film instead. That decision aged poorly. Total gross, $98.4 million worldwide. Looks profitable, right? Wrong. DreamWorks received approximately $21 million from domestic theatrical after the exhibitor cut. That didn't even cover the marketing budget, let alone touch the $80 million production cost. Sony paid DreamWorks $55 million for international rights and lost heavily on that investment. Sometimes a movie can gross near $100 million and still be a clear loser. Paul Hogan revived his Crocodile Dundee franchise 13 years after the last sequel. Nobody asked for this. The original 2 films earned $610 million combined. This one cost $25 million and made $39.4 million worldwide. You'd think that's break even, but factor in marketing and the exhibitor cut, and Paramount took a small loss. More importantly, the critical reception was brutal. 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, one of the worst reviewed sequels of all time. A WGA credit dispute erupted when Hogan sought sole screenwriting credit. The Writers Guild ruled against him. Roger Ebert gave it a left-handed compliment. Who would you rather your kids took as a role model? Crocodile Dundee, David Spade, or Tom Green? Tom Green later claimed underage moviegoers bought tickets to Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles specifically to sneak into Freddy Got Fingered in adjacent theaters. The franchise was effectively dead. Both Hogan and co-star Linda Kozlowski essentially retired from film. They divorced in 2014. This is 2001's most fascinating failure. Josie and the Pussycats is a brilliant media satire that nobody understood. The plot is literally about corporations using subliminal messages in pop music to control consumer behavior. The film contains 73 visible product placements. None of them were paid. Not a single brand exchanged money. Companies only signed legal releases. The satire was deliberate and pointed. Directors Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan conceived it as a dark commentary on manufactured pop culture. Yet critics and audiences took the product placement at face value. The Rotten Tomatoes consensus calls the constant appearance of product placements hypocritical. They miss the entire joke. Budget estimates range from 22 to 39 million. Gross, $15.5 million worldwide. Kaplan later said the film took us out of the movie industry. But here's the punchline. Bono told the directors he loved it within a year of release. Tara Reid calls it her favorite film she's ever done. The soundtrack went gold. Critics now compare it to Idiocracy, and they live as prescient media satire. The reappraisal came 20 years too late to save anyone's career. Fox gave Tom Green $14 million to write, direct, and star in whatever he wanted. The result was so deliberately provocative that the Toronto Star created a special negative 1-star rating specifically for it. Roger Ebert's review is legendary. This movie doesn't scrape the bottom of the barrel. This movie isn't the bottom of the barrel. This movie isn't below the bottom of the barrel. This movie doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence with barrels. The film swept the 2001 Razzies with 5 wins. Green personally attended the ceremony. He arrived in a white Cadillac with his own red carpet. He played harmonica badly until he was dragged off stage. Total gross, $14.3 million worldwide. broke even theatrically, but lost money after marketing. DVD sales of 24.3 million eventually made it profitable. Here's the twist. The film's critical rehabilitation is one of cinema's strangest arcs. Nathan Rabin called it a borderline Dadaist provocation, a $15 million prank at the studio's expense. It's now cited as a precursor to Eric Andre and Tim and Eric. Sometimes the worst movie ever made becomes influential. Just give it 2 decades. Will Smith gained 35 pounds for Ali. He trained 6 hours daily for a year. Muhammad Ali personally called Smith and told him he was the only one as good-looking as him to play the part. Director Michael Mann's perfectionism drove the budget from $107 to $118 million. A 5-week Africa shoot alone added $12 to $16 million. The film is actually good. 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. 2 Oscar nominations, including Best Actor for Smith. But it opened Christmas 2001 directly against The Lord of the Rings, Ocean's 11, and Harry Potter. American boxing and civil rights drama simply didn't travel internationally. Domestic gross, $58.2 million. International, $29.5 million. Sony cited Ali as one of 2 major loss films in its quarterly investor report, with total exposure exceeding $100 million. Smith and Mann offered to forfeit their own salaries if the film went over budget. It did anyway. Sometimes doing everything right still leads to disaster. This is the bomb that killed a studio. Square Pictures spent $137 million creating cinema's first photorealistic computer-animated feature film. They also spent $45 million building a state-of-the-art animation facility in Honolulu just for this production. The script went through 50 incarnations. Each of the 141,964 frames took 15 minutes to over 7 hours to render. Lead character Aki Ross was marketed as a virtual actress. Maxim magazine included her in their Hot 100 list. Director Hironobu Sakaguchi announced franchise plans before the film even opened. Total gross, $85.1 million worldwide. Square Pictures was permanently shut down on March 31, 2002. 125 employees lost their jobs. Square posted an annual loss of $84 million. The disaster delayed the Square Enix merger by 2 years and nearly killed the entire Final Fantasy franchise. Character programmer Hiroshi Kawai later admitted, "The checks and balances weren't there." The film is now recognized as a genuine technical pioneer. Its motion capture techniques laid groundwork for The Lord of the Rings and eventually Avatar, but in 2001, it was just a catastrophe. No film on this list has a more cursed release than Glitter. Mariah Carey's pop star vehicle cost $22 million. The circumstances surrounding it are almost too strange to believe. The breakdown timeline is staggering. July 17th. Carey gave an erratic interview on BET, hiding behind pillows. July 19th. She made her infamous TRL appearance on MTV, pushing an ice cream cart, stripping on stage. Carson Daly said, "Mariah Carey has lost her mind." July 26th. She was hospitalized for extreme exhaustion. In 2018, Carey revealed she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder during that hospitalization. The soundtrack was delayed. It released on September 11th, 2001, the day of the attacks. A famous photograph shows the Twin Towers burning with a glitter billboard visible in the foreground. The film opened 10 days later to near-empty theaters. Total gross, $5.3 million on a $22 million budget. EMI paid $28 million to terminate Carey's $100 million contract. She didn't recover until 2005, but here's the ending. In 2018, fans launched the Justice for Glitter campaign. They pushed the soundtrack to #1 on iTunes across multiple countries, 17 years after release. Carey now refers to the film as the G word. Sometimes redemption comes from the strangest places. 2001 wasn't just a bad year. It was a perfect storm. German tax shelter fraud financed at least 5 bombs on this list. September 11th devastated fall box office. Aging male stars made vanity projects nobody wanted. Studio regime changes orphaned productions midstream. The wreckage was permanent. Warner Brothers feature animation was killed. Castle Rock Entertainment was dissolved. Square Pictures was shuttered. Franchise Pictures was destroyed by fraud lawsuits. Careers that seemed bulletproof went into hibernation or permanent decline. Warren Beatty, Sylvester Stallone, John Carpenter, Mariah Carey. All of them spent years recovering, if they recovered at all. Combined losses exceeded $750 million. In 2001 money, Hollywood proved it could burn cash faster than it could learn from its mistakes. Some things never change.